good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Lawrence Watson Show. Episode 3, as a matter of fact, and I know we've been gone a while, but don't fret, dear listener, we haven't forgotten about you.
No, we haven't forgot.
I'm here with my two buddies, the brothers Kirk, John.
Greetings.
And Jeff.
Good evening.
And we're bringing you this podcast after a short hiatus that I had to take, partially due to some family circumstances and also some issues with releasing and recording the third episode.
A complete abortion is what it was.
I'm going to let John take the lead on this one.
Oh, okay.
Well, first of all, I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's true. Jeff wasn't there, so he can't.
Main problem.
Okay, so if you remember from our first episode, a featured personality, he had some prepared remarks, and the topic was the all-time Pittsburgh Pirates 20 years of losing team. And he performed it for us within the comfort and privacy of the Weenie Hut Juniors, and we thought it was great. We thought it was great, a good written piece, and got a few yucks out of it.
Yeah, it was funny.
We decided to dedicate most of an episode to it.
Yeah, good. We had a long discussion about how to format the episode, and we had a real format and everything. And we're going to get to this episode's format. It's not quite as formal as that one.
No,
but
nothing's written down for this one.
Yeah, well, we're back to our tradition. It's,
exactly.
Just like it's tradition for me to make notes about what I want to talk about on this show, and then forget to bring them.
Yeah.
So
blockhead.
Yeah, well.
Hey, language.
Oh, sorry.
So anyway, we had a whole format dedicated to this written piece of his.
And let me just preface by saying that it was good.
Yeah, it was a good piece.
It was good, and then we asked featured personality who shall remain nameless, but God damn it, you know who you are.
He's not listening anyway.
To perform it, and he did the exact opposite of that. He made it sound as if it was conversational. Yeah. Made it sound like his jokes were spontaneous. They weren't written to be spontaneous. It was shit.
What you're saying is you can't write a spontaneous conversation?
It wasn't even a conversation. It was just there was no performance involved.
Well, yeah, and we'd asked him to perform it, because, like he'd done it at Weenie Huts, and
it was not nearly as funny as it was there, and it wasn't because we were hearing it for the second time. All the jokes were buried.
Yeah, it was all the good material was just buried under the rest of the tone, and I guess he had a different expectation of what it was supposed to be.
And for the first time in not only the Lawrence Watson Show's first iteration, but also this one, an entire episode was canned, and it was dumped, and not because of technical difficulties.
Yeah, I've only ever had to dump a full episode one other time, and oddly enough, it was with this group.
Well,
but it was for technical reasons because.
Well, it could have been dumped anyway.
Well, I guess
for the same reason.
For the same reason.
For a similar reason, yeah.
So this person is no longer going to be a featured personality on the show. We have reassigned him to creative director.
That's a very generous way to say that we fired him, or that we're not going to have him on anymore. But anyway.
Well, we quit paying him anyway.
Hey, your support, folks. Anyway.
It's all 50-something.
Well, let's see. Episode 2 had 50.
That's assuming they listen to more than 10 seconds. I don't know how long it takes to count a hit on YouTube.
I don't know, but they give you all that data that tells you the average of how long people listen.
What's the average?
Like 13 like 13 minutes, because
that's pretty damn good.
That's
considering that we're not any good.
Well, considering that the people that listen to it are people who I've directed there, like you fine folks who are listening right now.
And we're up to 3 listeners now.
So you're saying that the people that we asked to listen to at least 14 minutes?
One of which we're not related to. That helps.
Anyway,
Lawrence mooned everyone.
Yeah. I took my dick out and started swinging it around like Ric Flair on an airplane.
There you go.
But anyway, Anyway, yeah, the average was about 13, 14 minutes, something like that.
I don't. Usually it takes 5 minutes to go, this fucking sucks, and then they.
Well, yeah, I mean, if people are interested in listening to me, I mean, keep in mind though, our episodes are usually an hour and a half. So.
Yeah.
And if you condense it down to anything that's actually good, you only get like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That is true.
we have an hour and a half of material, and about 4 minutes worth is good.
I like that ratio.
Hey, there are shows like Mark Madden's that don't have that ratio.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's got music. He's got commercials.
No, the music's been gone for years, dude.
Oh, he doesn't play music anymore.
Yeah.
And then we had a second attempt to record. We were all ready to go. The house was clean. I was in the process of folding blankets when our producer, Henry, took a tumble down the stairs and had to go to the vet. And
I think the word you're looking for is the doctor.
okay, yeah, fine. We had to go to the hospital.
Well, are we anthropomorphizing Henry as a human being or not?
I think the show's quality. It's conceivable to think that's produced by a dog.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. And so that made our recording venue, well, unoccupied for the evening.
I think that's giving us too much credit.
Yeah, good point. Joke's a little late there. So we couldn't tape that night.
Yeah, we couldn't tape, but we're here tonight, and it's almost the 4th of July as we record this.
So by the time that a lot of you listen to this, you'll already be missing fingers from fireworks accidents over the holiday.
Yeah, it'll be...
Somebody else told me that today. What are the new Pennsylvania fireworks laws?
Well, if you had that question,
see, we could have looked this up.
we could have looked this up. You guys talk. I'll look it up.
Okay, you look it up. But I'm actually not sure what the new rule is about fireworks.
Well, in
and
the past,
PA.
it seemed like it was basically things that go boom are bad, things that fly up in the air are bad and illegal, and all you had was sparklers, snakes, snaps, champagne poppers, those lame fountains that are really just a big box of sparklers, and that was pretty much it.
Well, those little tanks.
Oh yeah, the little
They
tanks.
didn't do it. These tanks were the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, and smoke bombs. You could get smoke bombs. So nothing fun.
Well, I mean, nobody actually followed those laws. I mean, everybody
cat
just went
guns.
to Ohio or West Virginia or something to get their fireworks.
Yeah, I did that too. It's just a waste of money.
Some of you really enjoy them, though. And some people go out they drive to the state line and buy them and then bring them back, and they get like a entire Army Foot Locker full.
And then when you go to an actual fireworks store, you realize that they spent about $1,500 on fireworks.
Shit's expensive.
It's very expensive.
Well, I mean, a lot of people have parties. That's the only explanation I can think. Other than that, maybe you just hear things go boom.
Well, the problem with that is even at the parties, the people with all the illegal shit, they kind of ration it off because they don't want to drive to Ohio again anytime soon to go get more.
You mean like next year? That's too soon?
You'd be surprised. Although we used to be able to get them at the flea market, but those fireworks sucked. They were so...
Yeah.
You can buy a box of duds. Basically what it was.
The gross of bottle rockets. About 2 dozen of them actually reported.
I can't find anything.
So
I need a comprehensive list of what we can buy. I know Roman candles was on the list, which
Oh, that's new.
for listeners that aren't from around here think that Roman candles were illegal, that's ridiculous. And yes, they were illegal and was ridiculous, but...
If they are legal now, that's a change, I think.
Okay, the law states that Pennsylvania residents can now purchase and use Class C fireworks, commonly known as consumer grade. They can include firecrackers, battle rockets, and other fireworks that contain a maximum of 50 milligrams of explosive material, the law reports.
That's 2 things.
After this commercial we've just done for Zambelli.
Phantom fireworks!
Phantom fireworks, now available.
Black Cat firecrackers.
So, I'm sure you all will have enjoyed your 4th.
And sorry to get us on that tangent.
Anyway.
Anyway, it's the 4th of July, right?
Yeah. So, we're finally doing this episode. And this is an episode I've been looking forward to because I've thought about it for ages, but we haven't done it. We didn't do it. And when I finally thought about it, it was always too late to do it. Now we're doing it this time. So, I want to talk about a subject that I think all three of us enjoy. Usually that doesn't always happen. We
No,
get a subject
usually-
that maybe one or two of us is,
Well, it gives us an opportunity to step out and take a piss and then come back when you're done.
well, true.
What is it?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to discuss a little bit about one of our favorite comedy trios of all time, the Three Stooges.
Boo!
No, I'm just kidding. I like the Three Stooges.
I never heard of them.
You never heard of them?
No.
Yeah, I just
Well, there
thought
were
it
actually
stinks.
6 of them.
Well, yeah, really down to it.
Yeah.
Well, I am a huge Joe Besser fan.
No one's a huge Joe Besser fan.
Joe Besser wasn't even a huge Joe Besser fan.
Not so hard.
So, you've ruined my idea to start this off, but but I thought I would be controversial and say early on that my favorite Stooge was actually Shemp Howard.
Okay, wait a minute. It's one thing to say that Shemp was underrated, but to say it was your favorite,
He was my favorite.
you
Yeah.
better have a good goddamn reason why.
I didn't like him at all. So if you want to talk about things that we disagree on, then that's one.
Well,
Well, I think for Pittsburgh sports fans, particularly Penguins fans, it's kind of like Shemp got the same rap for following Curly, who everybody loved. The same way Paul Staggerwald, the Penguins announcer on television, got the same, rap that for following Mike Lang, who is an all-time great and also Hall of Famer and Foster Hewitt Award winner and just a legendary broadcaster.
Yeah, but he also wasn't as good.
Well, they weren't as good, but doesn't mean they weren't good.
but I mean, even if that analogy held up, in order for that analogy to actually hold up, then that would mean that Mike Lang would have followed Paul Steigerwald and then been replaced by Paul Steigerwald.
Okay, you're getting way into the weeds here.
Because keep in mind, Shemp was an original Stooge before Curly had joined the act.
Yeah, but you might as well be talking about Ted Healy or something.
Well, I was going to bring up Ted Healy. We were going to cover the whole gamut here.
Well, then go ahead, get started.
Well, anyway, it wasn't going to be like a biographical thing, but I was just going to talk a little bit about. But anyway, there are reasons I like Shemp. For one, I've always liked his sense of comic timing, and I always kind of identified with his sensibility, I guess, more than Curly. He was a little more streetwise, I guess.
Okay.
He had that kind of timing down to him. Also, and this is purely a selfish reason, I always kind of liked him more because, like him, I had a propensity to ad-lib my dialogue when I was performing.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, it was kind of like that. Also, I have plenty of fears as well and phobias, so...
Well, I mean, and one thing that I found out about Shemp later, in my Stooge watching, by all accounts, he was by far the kindest in person of all the Stooges. Like, Mo played the boss on TV, or not, well, in the films.
Yeah.
He was the boss in real life.
Yeah, he
so
was.
which means he had to be a dick from time to time.
Yeah.
Plus, they were all always hitting everybody all the time. That wasn't nice.
Larry made no secret of that he was running around on his wife. And Curly had all kinds of problems, which we would rather not get into. But Shemp was just the kind, just caring dude who would approach you, look in the eye and say, hi, and just mean it.
I want to get back to this Larry thing. I didn't know that he was, running all around town getting all kind of strange.
Oh, yeah. He told his wife, I'm going to do this. This is part of your agreement of marrying me, that I get to get as much strange as I please. But I'll come back.
Good
I'll
girl.
come back.
And to be fair, another part of the agreement, I guess, in return, they never lived in a house. They just moved from motel to motel.
Really?
Yeah,
I
this is true.
didn't know it was that deep.
Yeah, they because I think her name was Maybelle Fine. She didn't want to do housekeeping. She didn't like it, and
So have a lady come to your door every morning
yeah,
and say
so
housekeeping.
Yeah, so in order for them to get housekeeping rather
And
than
then Larry's eyeing her up.
so they
That
just
solves two problems.
yeah, moved from hotel to hotel, and Larry didn't actually own a house, I think, until the 50s. So
Oh.
I bang girls and my wife hires them.
Hey, what are you doing, Shadowhead? So this is going to be a series of impressions just shoehorned into everything.
I suppose so. But yeah, I've always Shemp was my favorite as a youngster, and I guess as I've gotten older, I appreciate his humor more.
Right, but the other side of that is, like, it wasn't even Shemp's fault, but, you know, Columbia Pictures started cutting and cutting
Yeah.
and cutting all the original film material and started just splicing in old shit.
Yeah. And there was actually I was actually going to bring that topic up too.
Okay.
Was
Really should have prepared for this.
well, yeah, but you know, we're jumping all around here, but it's okay. It's a conversation. So, but since you brought it up, in 1952, I want to say, I think it was 52.
Okay.
That was when the chopping and the budget cuts at Columbia really, really started for the shorts departments. And Hugh McCollum, who was the executive producer of most short features, almost all of them actually, he resigned in protest because Harry Cohn was...
He was an asshole.
Yeah, he was an asshole and a skinflint, and he was telling them that, you know, you have like one day to produce a short. And he said, I can't work under that. There's no way. So he resigned, and his head writer, Edward Burns, who lived to be something like 95, he was alive in the year 2000, last I had known.
Get out. 95, I would say in them days, he probably would have died in 1960.
Well, they interviewed him on Stooge DVDs that are, you know, kind of...
Yeah, because he's the only one that's alive by the time DVDs were around.
He and Emil Sitka were about it. But, yeah, so... Anyway, he resigned as well, and he was the chief writer for the shorts department. And one of the chief directors. There were two directors of the shorts at Columbia in those days. There was Edward Burns, and there was the other director, Jules White. And Jules White had a propensity to follow that party line, as they say, and do the cutting and the splicing and the
reusing of scripts.
Yeah.
Well, they did that before.
Yeah, but I mean, this was big time. This was big time stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this today you'd never be able to get away with it. I mean, just you get sued for one.
Well, think about the rewrites, for example. The one that Curly had his stroke while filming was Hackwood's Holiday, which was a rewrite of the Hoi Polloi. So we're talking, what, 1947?
Yeah. That one was a remake. And they did do remakes into the...
Okay, let me ask you a question. Can you think of any remake that was as good as the original?
Not off by heart.
Because Hoi Polloi is one of the all-time great.
Hoi Polloi was a great short.
Especially since it ended in a pie fight, which I'm all in favor of that.
When I was first starting out screenwriting, before I'd learned formatting, that's an inside joke that only the three of us will get, but...
Only because you explained it to the two of us.
Well,
or anyone who's done any screenwriting.
Well, yeah. Anybody on screenwriting...
Anyone who's really into screenwriting is probably listening and go, well, of course you got the formatting down.
Well, before I'd learned formatting, I used to write a lot of comedies, and and almost invariably, I would always want to end the show with a pie fight. Just because, to me, that's what was funny. And remember that script I showed you years and years ago? That Revolutionary War comedy I'd written, where I stole from everybody.
Oh, yeah. We all did.
But it was a funny script, I thought, for your 8th grade sensibility.
Well, yeah. Was.
Plagiarism, 1776.
But I wrote the pie fight scene out, but I never actually finished the damn thing. And part of me wants to someday go back and actually just finish it to say I finished it, but that's neither here nor there.
You're gonna read the whole damn thing over because you realize how much was stolen.
Well, yeah,
Even
there was
the
a lot stolen. I really did steal quite a bit, but I'm just starting out.
I'm 13. Leave me alone.
Yeah, really. I've just entered my teens. I'm an emotional wreck. Anyway, but yeah, Jules White was he directed almost every Stooge short from then on of the Shemps. And Shemp hated working with Jules White because, again, it was the cutting of footage. And Shemp, unlike Moe, who had a lot of say in the creative, Shemp didn't attend like the creative. He didn't do that.
Yeah. He
would just improvise and allow himself to be funny. So when he would do that, and they would make cuts to the finished product, he would get understandably upset about it because why are you cutting this when you're just replacing it with rehashed footage from a short I did 5-6 years ago?
Yeah.
So that was the basis of that, and Shemp really, really hated Jules White, and I think that's the only person I've ever read about one of the Stooges really despising, other than Harry Cohen.
Yeah. It wasn't until later that they found out that Harry Cohen was really getting the royal screw job.
Oh yeah.
Because he made sure that they did not know how popular they were.
Yeah, and the aspect of royalties, which was funnily enough covered by that TV movie that Mel Gibson made about the Stooges.
I like that movie.
Yeah, there was you know what? It's surprisingly good for a television
It's
film.
not bad. It's
It's
bad.
really not.
I mean, but it
But
it serves the purpose that a lot of television movies
Yeah.
serve. Tell the damn story and then
Yeah.
don't worry about anything else.
It was better than that Farrelly Brothers thing. You know.
Oh, that was garbage.
I haven't seen it.
Don't.
My dad
Don't
was
see it.
My dad was a huge Stooges fan though.
Yeah.
He liked it.
Really?
I didn't
Yeah.
like it.
I saw it and I was just so, I don't know. After I saw it, I just felt really angry. And very rarely do I ever get angry at a film. I'll be disappointed. I'll be, that kind of sucked, or that was great. But very rarely am I just angry.
Do you just get up at the movie theater at the end of it and just shout at the screen, "Fuck you!"
I didn't quite go that far, but I was like, this fucking sucks. I hate, it's like, my thought process at the time was if the Farrelly Brothers never work again, fuck them.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was no longer on board once I realized that it was set in the present day.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Right off the bat, I was like, And then they had to get the cast of the Jersey Shore involved.
Yeah, that was
Oh
terrible.
God.
Yeah.
Oh
Right.
God.
That's
And
what I mean when I say don't watch it.
Yeah, don't.
Okay. I'm not missing anything.
So if you've never seen it and you're listening, don't.
Okay, that actually kind of leads me to my next question, though.
Okay.
We talk about the setting of the present day. Now,
Right.
here's something I've been pondering:
Hmm.
is would the Stooges have been as popular if there wasn't the Depression? Because what is the common theme? They're
They're
looking
broke.
They're
They're
broke.
broke. They're looking
Hungry,
for work.
unemployed.
And who do they always embarrass in their exploits? High society.
Yeah, the rich.
What are you doing? You're ruining the lawn.
Don't anybody tell anybody the Three Stooges were socialists. But they
I'm
were,
taking a bath.
they were surprisingly political for the time period. But
John,
I mean,
I'm going to point out that John keeps prompting me for
yeah,
Larry impressions, but he's put me on the spot.
All right, get together, go practice in the bathroom, and come back and cue it to your ear as
already
as
did
you
one.
see fit. Just
hey,
keep doing it. It's great.
If it comes up, it comes up. Yeah. So would they have been as popular if there wasn't a Great Depression?
Or were they just that damn good?
I want to say that they were that good because I think they would have made it regardless. They just wouldn't have done
Not that necessarily.
that shtick.
Okay.
Well, it's not like there weren't
Because-
people like that existed before the Depression.
Yeah, short
point.
subjects
Good
existed
point.
a long time. From the beginning of movies, short subjects were there, and like Fatty Arbuckle, he rarely did, he never did that kind of thing. And those
Well,
were
Charlie
shorts.
Chaplin, he was always the tramp.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah, and that was during the what is that period called?
that was the Roaring '20s,
the
when,
Roaring
when everything was
20s.
booming.
Yeah.
Everything is booming.
So, anyway, but I think they probably would have made it if they got their opportunity because, well, Shemp made it on his own.
That's true.
He was a very popular solo act on his own, and in shorts that had nothing to do with that kind of theme. So they all probably would have made it.
So did he tour, what was his stage name before the Stooges? Was he Sam Horwitz, Sam Howard?
He was always Shemp Howard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, his name was Samuel Horwitz.
Okay.
But his mother, from him being a small lad, her saying Sam came out Shemp in her Litvak accent.
Okay.
So whenever she'd call him Sam, it would come out Sham.
Did you ever call him Shempule?
Boy, that would be a good question to ask them. So he was always Shemp Howard from childhood. But we can talk. I wanted to take a minute to talk about some of the individual shorts that I thought were really good. Some of my favorites, and you guys can.
I was going to try to lead into that anyway. So
Okay, so well, there you go.
we've done a lot of behind the.
Yeah, we've done some behind the scenes stuff. Now
Most fans have seen.
Now we can talk about the
Shit
stuff that
we've
everybody
learned along the way.
We can talk about the stuff everybody everybody has seen now.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to ask you guys if either of you had a favorite short in particular, just one that you would rank above all the others. If it comes to you immediately, whatever.
I have one, but it's kind of a cliche.
Well, go for it.
All mine are cliche.
Men in Black.
Men in Black.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
A Plumbing We Will Go.
that's a good one.
Hoi Polloi, as we
Hoi
mentioned
Polloi.
before.
The one where they're cops. What's that?
Dizzy Detectives.
Dizzy Detective.
Dizzy Detectives.
The Ape Man.
One of my favorites is
So yours are going to be all different because you like the ships.
my favorite Stooge short of all time is actually a Shemp. It's Who Done It.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
Old Man Goodrich has hired the detectives to protect him.
These three gentlemen.
Yeah, the three detectives.
Wait a minute. 3 detectives.
Yeah. The three detectives to protect him after he receives a note telling him he will be the next to disappear from this gang that's kidnapping society individuals. Why you would go for a councilman, I don't know, as a society man, but there you have it.
High society.
Oh, I got a good one.
Okay.
The one where they're making dinner for that dinner party.
Oh, see, they're actually photographers in that one. They're trying to get a snap picture of the prince, if you remember. And then it turns out the guy wasn't actually a prince. He was putting on a big scam to marry a rich lady.
Oh.
And they got a picture of him robbing the safe in the rich lady's house. And they're like, sorry, he wasn't a prince. This is a much bigger story.
I like.
We'll watch them never. It's on YouTube. We'll get it.
Yeah. After
can't
this
find any of them
episode
on
is
YouTube.
over, we'll watch them, and then we should have discussed that.
No, we're going to take listeners through this shit.
Why don't we just put it on and then watch it and then just record?
Yeah, our commentary.
It's in public domain now. We can use it.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, you
well,
can put whatever you
actually-
want on there. Nobody has to listen to it.
Actually, I come to find out that there are only 4 Stooges shorts in the public domain. Was it 4? Something like it was. I'll list them off and we'll see if my count was right.
That
Okay.
explains why I can't find any of these damn things on YouTube.
Well,
You can find them.
they're on. You can find it, but then they go and
they
then
do weird stuff with the videos, so it can't be detected. I think.
Yeah.
So it's all like blurry around the edges, and it looks
Yeah,
weird.
they screw-
And the
or-
ones that you can find that look okay, they're all obscure ones that nobody's ever seen before from the later years that suck.
It's just a little bit faster.
Yeah. It was where they play it slightly faster, to where if you lower the speed, it'll still sound like they're going slow. I've tried that, but I also let's see, the Disorder in the Court is public domain.
Yeah.
Sing a Song of Sixpence, where they're tailors. That's a Shemp short. Actually, all the other public domains are Shemp shorts. And Malice in the Palace, which is another favorite of mine.
Well, that one had a curly scene cut.
He had a
right?
cameo that was cut.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the still picture, he just did not. I mean, he looked terrible.
Didn't look like curly at all.
Yeah, no, he lost the weight, and I mean, he just looked bad. He looked sickly.
Yeah.
Funny fat guys aren't funny if they're not fat anymore.
Well,
Just imagine a skinny Chris Farley.
he probably still would have been funny, I think.
Yeah, but it'll be a little bit depressing too. It's not the same.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have had that obsessive
or,
need for affection.
Or a fit John Belushi.
John Belushi can move, though.
I know. We've had the discussion before about fat
Yeah,
guys
we've-
that can move.
Have we had it on the podcast?
No.
No,
Yeah,
we
we should
haven't.
Probably keep it that way.
Well, I mean, Curly was a fat guy that could move.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
After having sustained a gunshot wound to his ankle.
Really?
Yeah, that's why he walked that way. Whenever they'd run somewhere.
You realize how much restraint I'm using right now to not do any version of curly at all.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, if it's that bad, I could cut it out.
If you cut it out, it's not the same, is it?
That's true. But I'm trying so hard to avoid impressions on this podcast, because when I listen back, I'm like, that wasn't a very good one.
We should just give them a disclaimer now. Any impressions that you hear are a result of involuntarily, humor functions,
It's just,
and they're not going to be any damn good.
yeah, it's just something that we've always fallen back on ever since 8th grade. Just
Yeah.
doing impressions at each other back and forth. Of course, in those days, it was Mel Brooks movies.
Well, yeah. Well,
Just, and it's mostly Blazing Saddles.
mostly before our voices changed too.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, it was Disorder in the Court, Malice in the Palace, Sing a Song of Sixpence. I can't think of the other goddamn one.
Well, then fine. Tell them to look it up. Look it up.
Look it up. But
Listeners, look
there's
it
only
up.
like 4, I think.
All right, now I'm going to coach you. We mentioned that Jeff and I agree that our favorite short was Men in Black.
Men in Black's a great short.
And
Yeah,
one
I say
thing
the
that
plumbing we will go, I think.
yeah, you did say that.
Yeah.
yeah, but Men in Black came out first.
Ooh, what's the one where they're cowboys?
Cowboys?
There's several
Yeah.
shorts where they're cowboys.
Yeah.
The one where they go down in the mine and there's a gold coins.
Oh, yeah, that
And
one.
then they blow up the safe. That's the same one, right?
No, they weren't cowboys. They were kind of cowboys. That was the one where Larry gets poked in the ass with a cat. No, Curly gets hit with a cactus.
Yes,
And it has all these spines in his ass.
And Mo says,
You're leaving the ends in them.
they don't show.
Because Mo's yanking them out.
You're leaving ends in, porcupine.
Oh! And
Oh, look!
meanwhile, Larry's just clipping them off at the leaving the ends in them. They don't show. And, but there was one bit of performance that you always did for Men in Black that I've always loved because you're the only person I know that ever bothered to learn it.
the Billy Gilbert monologue.
Yes.
I knew where this was going.
Of course you knew it was going. Because you're the only one that knows it.
Yeah.
I can get to the first, 3 lines.
I only know the last line.
That is the momentous
Nope,
question. I once asked Hamlet, and he made this suggestion. He said, go for a walk, and I met a dog. Rawr, rawr, rawr. Fellas, let's give him some medicine.
Water.
Water! Water. Man, I spiked that fucking boy on the thing. Oh, shit. I'm probably going to have to cut it out, too.
Oh, leave it in there.
Because I deafen our listeners.
No one's listening anyway.
That's true. Let's see, we're about the 30-minute mark, so they'll have. This is long past the average of where people are listening.
They usually cut out by this point.
It's double the average.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
So those of you that have made it this far, but I know there were a couple people because a couple people have told me about, mentioned things later on in the episodes. So
Earl from Canada.
Earl from Canada. Yes.
I do have a response for Earl from Canada, even though it's a couple months late.
Oh yeah, he did offer his. He did offer you a few things to respond to.
Yeah, indeed he did.
Ooh, do we have a listener mailbag?
You know what? Okay, I'm gonna take this moment to appeal to whoever the hell it is that listens to this.
Especially the people who listen to for 13 minutes.
Yeah, particularly the 13-minute
The
listener.
13-minute listener.
I don't care why you stopped listening. I want to know why you listened for that long.
Yeah. Okay, so we are, we basically come into this every time that we tape. We have maybe 1 or 2 good ideas and many other bad ideas.
Many.
And what we would like, I think this would be good, because we'd have 0 comments on the YouTube.
Yes, I know.
0 comments.
Yeah.
So please, I don't care who the hell you are. I don't care if we already know you. If you have an account, just type a question, type something, type a suggestion, something we can respond to.
yeah.
Give us something to work with, will ya?
Yeah. I mean,
Or just tell us how bad we suck.
well, that's true. I mean, but on the plus side, I've gotten generally positive feedback for the last 2
From
episodes.
people
Well,
you
tell
know.
them to put it in
Or-
the public
well-
forum where everybody else can look at it and not just you, where other listeners can see it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't just tell me.
We don't need to toot our own horn. This is for fun.
Yeah.
So we're not looking
And
for
profit, but
exposure.
mostly fun.
Well, no, it's not even profit. It's a non-profit.
Yeah, there's no profit.
Lawrence Watson
right
Show is a
now.
non-profit organization.
Yeah, there's no profit.
There is no profit. It's $2. You have $2.
Except-
$2 an episode.
Well, except John's.
That's only $2.
Yeah, so you're basically paying just to be on the show.
I'm cooking the books here. That's between that and offering my living room for a
Yeah.
recording space, I have no idea why I'm on the show in the first place. I had to shoehorn my way in. Guys, we can use my house. Lawrence,
Well-
here's $2.
Well,
Shit, I think Lawrence owes you rent.
to come in every couple of months.
Yeah.
And,
High-tech studio.
yeah. Well, sound quality in this room isn't that bad. I mean, compared to what I would have at my place. So there you
Well,
go.
yeah, but we also have a lot of soft things to absorb it.
True. Anyway, where were we?
I don't know. We're talking about Stooges
We were
or
talking
some
Stooges.
shit.
Another short that I like is a curly short. It's oily to bed, oily to rise.
Oh, that's a good one.
Where they have the they get that where Curly somehow every time he wishes for something, they interpret it as coming true.
Yeah.
He wishes he had a car. They're wandering around on the
Free
road.
auto giveaway every
Yeah.
Sunday, and then it just says free auto.
A free auto.
All right, we'll just take it because they just left the keys and everything in those days.
Yeah, gee, I wish I had a cigar. Cigars! Are you a wishing wizard? But that's one of my favorite shorts. That might be like a top 5 short for me, I would say. Yeah, that's a good short. Okay, let's go in another direction. What is your I mean, if you can avoid the remake shorts, if at all possible, for this question, what is the worst short, in your opinion? If it is a remake one, you can list it, but
It's going to be a remake.
Okay, well.
It's going to be Halfwit Holiday.
Halfwit's Holiday.
For emotional reasons, because Curly had a stroke on the set while filming it.
Mm.
Number 2, it's a remake. Number 3, because they cart Curly off to the hospital, and they kept going. So you see just Mo and Larry in the final couple minutes.
That's true.
There's a lot of objective reasons why that one sucks.
I can't answer because if I didn't like it, I probably just forgot about it. But I'll tell you what, we
That's fair.
missed another classic.
We missed
guys.
another class.
When they go to and they play golf.
That
Press. Pull.
My brother has a. I got it for him for Christmas one year. In his room, as far as I know, he has a. It's like a charcoal drawing of a scene from that short.
Really?
Yeah, it's really nice. Like, I spent like $80 on it at the mall when
Damn.
people still went to malls.
I need to get some Three Stooges artwork in my house.
Yeah. Anything like that. I mean, it just is a great accent piece for.
Yeah.
But boy, for me, I'd have to say the worst short for me is actually that's not a remake. Is the first Stooges short, Woman Haters, which is.
See, I haven't even seen that one.
You haven't. It's the very first Stooges short, and it's barely a Stooges short. They are not even Larry, Moe, and Curly in this.
They're just the Stooges?
They are just. Well, they all have like different names. I mean, they've got their act.
Muggy, Wuggy, and Tuggy.
Yeah, pretty much. But they play second fiddle to a blonde girl, whose name, I swear it escapes me. I knew it a little while ago, but she was actually the lead in the short, and she was meant to marry Larry. And Curly and Moe are trying to talk Larry out of getting married to this girl. And that's the premise of the short.
Hey, Mo, good looking bro. I can't do it.
But and there's another Stooges short that I wanted that a lot of people. But anyway, I really don't like that one because a lot of the dialogue is kind of sing-song. I mean, they do it in rhyme almost.
Ugh.
So it's not good. There's another, but I mean, that to me was the worst one that wasn't a remake. There is another short that I know for a fact because I'm a member of a group on Facebook that is filled with Three Stooges fans and some of the relatives of the boys
Oh, really?
who
Yeah.
occasionally check. Yeah, they occasionally check in.
All right, I'm getting on that.
I'll send you an invite.
We'll discuss after the tape.
Yeah, I'll send you an invite to it. But anyway, the short that apparently is the one that's most hated is Cuckoo on the Choo Choo or something, where it's a Shemp short where Larry has hijacked a railway car, Moe is a detective after him, and Shemp is a rich single guy who Larry is trying to convince to marry his sister or his white girlfriend's sister so that they can get his fortune. It's a really bizarre short because Shemp actually falls in love with a canary, and that only he can see.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Now, is that the one that had another Curly cameo?
No, you're thinking of Hold That Line, which is actually a good
Okay.
short.
Yeah. All right.
This was not that. This This one was pretty bad, but
See, that's no good because the whole thing about the Three Stooges is that they're all together.
yeah, this short they were not together.
See, that I don't like that.
But the funny thing is when Mo shared scenes with Larry, even though the story is that none of them know each other, Mo just assumes the dominant role,
Yeah.
slaps Larry around, even though Larry is supposed to be like this Stanley Kowalski type character from Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
I think one of the writers had seen that and thought, "Wow, this will make a good idea for a Stooges short film." And Larry can be Marlon Brando, which makes total sense.
I don't like that. I want to see the Three Stooges waking up and they're all in the same bed.
And there's two other beds.
There's
in
two
the
other
same
beds
room.
in the room. He had enough of this drivel.
Enough of this palaver.
Up in this nonsense.
Okay, things that we love, the way that we like to see them. Okay, so in addition to that, one of the classics is always going to be all three of them getting slapped with the same swipe.
Yeah.
And usually it's just Mo and Larry. But to have all three of them slapped by somebody else at once. And the reason why I'm fond of that is because we were kids. We have an aunt that had a horse.
Okay.
And at one moment, they put all, I'm one of 3 kids. So they put all 3 of us up on the horse. My dad, the Stooges fan, just saw it, took the opportunity, just went, wow, wow, wow.
That's great.
I just loved it. And so let's wrap this up with one final question. And
Okay.
when you come across even somebody that's our age or even somebody that's older,
Yeah.
a guy, specifically because Three Stooges are for guys.
Women
Yeah.
hate the Three Stooges.
Not my mother.
Not all women.
Not
I've
my
learned
mother.
this. But whenever you come across a guy that doesn't like the Three Stooges, what is your reaction?
Like my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Your dad.
My dad doesn't like them. My mom loves them.
Okay, that's wrong.
Well,
It's very odd.
my dad didn't grow up with them. Didn't.
But
have
everybody
any
around
attachment.
here grew up with them on Paul Shannon. They would show the Stooges clips on local television.
Yeah.
But you don't have to grow up with them. I mean, we grew up with them, but only from stuff my dad taped off of TV
True.
that we would watch all the time.
Well, he would insist that we watch it, and then, well, we loved it automatically because they're that damn good.
But that's because anybody can get it.
Yeah, and a great thing about the and another great Stooge short was "You Nasty Spy," which is the very first parody of Hitler.
Yeah. Oh, third. Okay.
Yeah, they beat Charlie Chaplin to it by like 6 months.
No.
But anyway, I just was thinking about that and wanted to get that out there that I also enjoyed that short before we moved on.
Okay. Well, I think we consider this dead horse, sufficiently beaten.
Yeah, we've killed it for about 40 minutes, so
Yeah. Well, that's pretty damn good for us.
yeah. So we can move on to
It'll
another.
be about 12 minutes after editing, so.
I was gonna say 5.
We can move on to another subject.
All right, but I think it's first probably a good time to take a commercial break.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So we're gonna move it on over to the commercial break, and we'll be right back after this.
Hi, folks. This is Larry Del Dino of Del Dino Takeout and Catering. A buddy of mine comes up to me the other day and says, "Hey, Dino." My friends call me Dino. He says, "Hey, Dino, I was at a wedding at the fire hall last Saturday, and I couldn't believe what they were feeding me. The salad had raisins in it, my steak lasted me 2 bites, and the cookie table was half pizzelles. At Del Dino Takeout and Catering, we won't leave anyone hungry at your wedding, Lions Club banquet, or your next graduation or high school equivalency party. We prepare our fried chicken freshly seasoned with Dino's secret blend of salt and pepper. We always keep an Italian grandma and a hunky grandma on staff for hand-rolled pig in the blankets, potato pancakes that don't taste like they came from a box, and rigatonis that don't get all hard and crusty when they've been setting out for a while. And if your cookie table's full of pizzelles, well, you shouldn't have got your aunt that pizzelle maker for Christmas. I don't know who eats them things. At Del Dino Takeout and Catering, our motto is a sterno under every tray, except the potato salad. So call 224-DINO. That's 224-DINO, and ask for a weekly fax of our takeout menu. This week's specials include halupki, pasta salad, and some kind of dessert with sauerkraut in it.
Anyway, I've now.
You got John's Obama.
Did you get it?
I don't even know. I don't remember.
I'm going to do it again.
Okay, you can do your Obama again as well.
Ask me. You have to ask me a question. That's the only way this works.
Okay, so Mr. President, Mr. Former President, what exactly do you think of the trajectory that our country is headed in?
Well, your name?
My name is Lawrence Watson. I'm the host of this program.
Okay, Lawrence. I'm glad you asked that question because the one thing the American people have said to me on the campaign trail and in office over and over again is the path that America has taken creates jobs.
So we've been basically...
And
that would be, if he actually did that, it would be stalling followed by a vague answer.
well, that's how
That's a lot of what he...
operate.
Well, that is a lot of what he... How he's...
And we're not just talking about the... It's not polite to say... I'm not going to do it.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
I was this damn close.
We don't need any blank bombs on the podcast.
This is a clean podcast,
It's
goddammit.
a family podcast, you mother...
Fucker. So, you had a... Well, I don't even know if we're going to get... But you had a response
Yeah.
to our listener friend Earl.
Yeah.
And if you want to cover that real quick before we get into our next topic.
So what did old Earl ask?
You mean we have a next topic?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Earl from Canada, fan of the Ottawa Senators. This involves the Ottawa Senators. And from what I understand, we were talking about the idea of the fuck you style of management, which we have witnessed for a long time in Pittsburgh with our baseball team, the Pirates. And now we see it now in Ottawa. You are letting a lot of your highest paid players go, and pretty soon it's going to be Erik Karlsson. And as soon as he signs somewhere else, it's going to be the confirmation that, unfortunately for Senators fans, and believe me, we've experienced this. It sucks. It absolutely is terrible when you love a team and the ownership holds it under your nose and just say, profit margins weren't what we needed them to be. We had to cut payroll. And so you have a world-class talent like Erik Karlsson, and you're going to let him walk. You're going to let him walk to go somewhere else because you don't feel like paying him. And that's what Eugene Melnyk is doing right now.
A lot of teams that would be very happy to pay him. He's one of the best defensemen in the league.
One of the finest defensemen in the league. And he's going to walk. Just like Mark Stone, you traded him away. Derek Brassard, you traded him away to us, of all places.
Thanks, Earl.
Well, I think Earl made the deal, but...
But Earl was the GM.
So, Earl, here, I'm going to give you some advice. Don't have any expectations for a while. As long as the ownership group is in its place, they are going to make sure that profit margins maintain. They're not going to be consistent with payroll. If you people start showing up,
it'll be about 25 plus years.
It'll be about 25 plus years. Because here was the biggest lie that the Pirates have told us as potential fans. At this point, I'm more merely like a well-wisher. They told the Pirates fans that payroll will stay consistent with revenue. And after a 98-win season, they gutted the team. And now, because the product is such shit, nobody is showing up. So what do you think is going to happen? Ownership is going to say, well, nobody showed up this year, so we're going to cut payroll. People showed up for 3 years. They gave a shit for those exact 3 years.
We're going to continue to be bad, and it's your fault.
But after those 3 years, they cut payroll anyway. And here we are.
I say good.
So
good that they're not showing up. I hope attendance numbers drop.
I just hope the team becomes unprofitable enough that, for the Pirates anyway, that ownership, Bob Nutting, the hillbilly prince, the newspaper mogul, decides to sell to someone that actually cares about consumers and cares about their product. Because here's one thing we've learned in Pittsburgh. The Steelers and the Penguins have always tried to win whenever it was possible. Especially with the Penguins. Now they did have a great deal of good luck with that Sidney Crosby draft pick. But when people showed up, they cared about winning. They didn't try to nickel and dime their way to short-term gains. They thought about the big picture. And what happened? That team was more valuable than it ever was, and the value increased much greater than anyone could have ever imagined. So
The issue for the Pirates, though, is that with revenue sharing, there is no scenario, almost no scenario, whereby they become so unprofitable that he would consider selling the team.
But what if he did sell the team, and he sold it to Jim Balsillie?
you'd move it to Hamilton, Ontario, and make it a hockey team. You guys can skate, right?
So, well, anyway, that was John's rebuttal to Earl.
And Earl, listen,
And Earl, I've forgotten even what you said in the first place, so you'll have to remind me.
Earl suggested that the Senators were in fact trying to win, and we've been there, Earl. We know what this looks like. If there is any question on whether Erik Karlsson should receive a contract, the answer is pay the man whatever the hell he's asking for, because he's that damn good. And ownership says, you know what? Enough's enough.
Maybe not whatever he's asking for. How about whatever the other teams aren't willing to offer?
Well, they're willing to offer whatever he's asking for.
Oh.
Well, it'll be
Because,
something else.
let's put it this way, the rules, as far as the current collective bargaining agreement, state that a single player's salary can only be 14%, 11% of the team's overall payroll. There is a ceiling there. He's probably worth the ceiling. He's that damn good. So, what I'm saying to you is, Earl, that we know what this looks like, and the fact that they're even trying to just let him walk, or even allowing him to walk, this deal should have been done a year ago. And because it's not, we all know where this is going. And unfortunately for fans like you, well, at this point I just feel bad. Because you guys don't deserve it.
How much you want to bet he goes to Vegas?
And that's the plan.
Is it?
Erik Karlsson, William Karlsson. I don't know if Vegas has the capital to actually make that happen.
Well, you know those fans they have high expectations.
Well, that was a phenomenon that nobody could have predicted.
Well, of course not.
I sure didn't at the start of the year. I mean,
Hey, you know what? The last time we did our podcast was long before. I think
The last time we had a podcast that actually made it to
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
made
the
it to
Penguins were
air,
still in it.
they were still in it.
yeah, so.
And so now
Season's
here we
over.
are. Season's been over for
Yeah.
a month.
And the worst team won.
No, the Flyers didn't win.
Oh, come on. The worst team that was in the finals won.
The worst possible team that was in
Yes.
the final. Okay, we weren't exactly pulling for the Capitals. However,
You're going to defend the Capitals now. I think.
personal.
I'm not going to defend the Capitals, but what I will say is that if you saw the outright bona fide joy from Alexander Ovechkin when he
I saw
actually
it,
won
yeah.
that cup, because everybody always speculated, his allegiance is with Mother Russia. He doesn't actually care about winning a Stanley Cup. You know, all those Russian players are the same. If you saw the outright joy,
Oh, there's a subreddit on Reddit called something like Ovechkin in his cup, and it's all just pictures of Alex Ovechkin with the Stanley Cup, because he took that thing everywhere.
and let's be honest, he's doing what Sidney Crosby did in 2016. He's hogging it.
he,
That's
Oh, you
that's
love
another
that thing.
inside. That's a really old inside joke.
That's not an inside joke. People can get on with that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
no.
for us, it is an inside
Just
joke.
see how all those guys reacted. Like, you know, this giant exhale when Game 5... And we were all together that night. We watched a good
Yeah.
portion of the game, and I drove home early because I wanted to catch the third period, and I didn't want to be out terribly late because I work in the morning. But to see that out-and-out, just total joy from Ovechkin, to me that signified that, you know, really we're not all that different. You know, he's not the typical Russian. He actually gave a shit. And the funny thing was, this was not the best team they ever had. The best team they ever had was 2010, when everybody expected them to just blow everyone out of the water. Remember defenseman Mike Green?
well, how many years did they win first place and not get the cup?
And
A
keep
few
winning
of them.
President's trophies
Yeah.
and losing the cup.
So, even as a Penguins fan, you kind of wish them ill.
Yeah.
I would say, however, it's kind of like, you know what, they've suffered long enough. I mean,
Yeah,
really.
but fuck them. I'm just
Don't
kidding.
be so crass.
But hey, if they lost that game, that chick wouldn't have pressed her tits against the glass.
That is a good point. So, internet people, go search that. Capitals, Game 5, chick with the tits.
Well, on that note, we're going to move on to our next topic. So John said to me, he said, why don't you just hit politics? I've been avoiding it for the last 3 episodes really.
This is one of your 3 Ps.
I know, and on my Twitter profile.
Pittsburgh, politics, professional wrestling.
I didn't hit that one either this time so far, but...
Go on that too. We got time.
Oh, well.
We had the room all night.
Oh, well. by all means.
Little gotta be up.
None of us
8
got to
a.m.
be up in the morning. It's going to be, none of us work tomorrow. So.
We do. We're playing golf.
When you get up early for something fun,
I know,
you're not
it's
really
easy.
getting up early, are you?
Something like getting up for work.
It's kind of like hot dog. Let me at 'em.
Yeah.
I can't get up for work, but whenever I'm getting up to play golf or something fun, I get right out of bed immediately.
That was like when I was a
I go,
kid at Kennywood.
yay!
Oh yeah,
Kennywood Day
Oh,
is
Kennywood Day. Oh
Loved
yeah.
Kennywood Day.
Kennywood Day.
And usually for my family growing up, it was only one day a year we would go to Kennywood.
Yes.
Well, same with us.
Yeah,
Same with us. Usually late
I
August
know,
is when we go.
yeah, I know a lot of families in the area didn't, they do multiple days or whatever, have season passes. But like for us, it was one day a year. For you guys, it was one day a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was a big deal.
For a lot
it
of
was-
families
it was
around this
huge.
area, it was
Yeah,
one day a year.
It was huge. I loved Kennywood Day.
All right,
And-
for international listeners,
It's our Disneyland.
Yeah, basically.
Exactly.
A local amusement park with 3 great wooden roller coasters, 1 great steel coaster, 1 wild mass, and 1 pretty good steel coaster. And just collection of rides, old-timey amusement park. Something of an institution where, the families go once a year. Kennywood Day was Kennywood Day. Your school picnic, your work picnic.
Whatever it was.
Physics Day.
Community picnic. Oh, Physics Day, yeah. There was always... It's always happiness.
For those of you who are listening from the AAD forums, Earl being one of them,
Okay?
you should all read my write-up on Kennywood versus Luna Park. It's a part of the Pittsburgh historical series that I've been writing on.
Luna Park existed for what, 4 years?
I read about
Barely
Luna
that,
Park
yeah.
not long ago.
The-
And then it caught on fire.
Yeah, the very short-lived feud between Kennywood and Luna Park.
No, they had a feud.
Well,
I think
They were-
Westview Park
but
would
it's
have a
okay.
feud.
Kennywood honored Luna Park
Yes.
when they opened their Lost Kennywood.
yeah,
The largest
they made,
expansion.
They made the sign that said Lost Kennywood. It was in the style of the original
Yeah,
Luna Park sign.
it was about a 1/5 something size,
it wasn't as
scale
big.
model size.
So
Because the
the
original Luna
entrance-
Park sign was just massive.
Now, Luna Park was in Oakland, is that correct?
Luna Park was like right next door.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like right on top of each other. That's why they were competitors.
Okay, were there any great wooden roller coasters at Luna Park?
If I had to write up on.
Okay,
I mean,
all right, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, but
But
those of you on AED, if you haven't yet, and I know you probably haven't, except for those of you that liked the post, read up on that because I delved deep and there was a deep cut. So
Lawrence's deep cuts.
Deep cuts.
So
Top
those
of
of
the
you-
hour.
So those of you interested in more in Kennywood's short-lived rivalry with Luna Park. But anyway,
They would have had a rival with Westview.
well, I just wrote about the Luna Park rivalry because
Okay.
that was just where I was focused.
Well, I have to relate a Kennywood Day story that
Okay.
John's plenty familiar with. Lawrence, you've probably heard it too.
I probably have, yeah, by this point.
It was Kennywood Day. Actually, the night before Kennywood Day, a tree fell in the yard. And when a tree fell in the yard, how old were we? About 10?
Not even, probably 8 or 9.
8 or 9. Well, guess who had to clean it up?
Kids.
And that thing couldn't be sitting there while we were at Kennywood all day.
What's the grass gonna look like under there?
Exactly.
Oh God,
So,
that's
holy
opened
shit,
another
when
subject
we got
for
up
us.
in the morning, it was Kennywood Day, and we had to clean up the tree. We couldn't go to Kennywood until we cleaned up the tree. So my dad has the chainsaw, and we're just frantically picking up logs and throwing them, so my dad can take them up. And we had that tree cleaned up in less than an hour. This is my dad and it's 2 8 or 9 year olds and a 11, 12-year-old.
11, 12-year-old.
Yeah.
How old Doug was.
Which my joke about the grass looking under there remind me of how much Pittsburgh dad is quite accurate.
He's based on our dad, I'm convinced.
He's based on every Pittsburgh dad. every Pittsburgh dad is exactly the same.
Well, if you want to get an accurate view to our household, I would say to the listeners, if you actually give a shit about, Lawrence's co-hosts,
Pittsburgh Dad Thanksgiving.
Pittsburgh Dad Thanksgiving. That is our father writ large. And please watch it. Comment. God damn it. Somebody comment. We need something to work with. We can't come up with ideas on our own, so...
Yeah, we're really bad at this, guys. I mean, we were going to... I mean, we had some topics to talk about. Like, we wanted to bring up, like, Windy City Heat, which was a great movie, but...
Oh yeah.
We'll
Look that
talk
up,
about
too,
that
and then comment.
Yeah, we'll have that another time, I think, but...
We're going to start bringing guests in if you guys don't give us anything, and we don't have good guests at all.
And you know what? If you're a fan of Windy City Heat, I have followed the Big Three.
Oh yeah, the Big
for
Three.
kind of a while past the Windy City Heat days.
So we can talk about that
We can, yeah.
at later times.
Yeah, that'll be another episode.
And I
in the
shouldn't
future.
tease it because then I'm gonna blow it.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Well,
gonna disappoint all of you.
We'll do that maybe the next time. I don't know.
All right. So
Based on our
we've
trajectory.
digressed long enough.
Yeah, we want.
Damn it, Lawrence.
See, they want to force me into politics or pro wrestling. I know pro wrestling is a little easier for me to discuss on this because it's less controversial because only weirdos like me care about it. But
But some other weirdos like you might hear something you say and make a big deal out of it.
yeah, but I mean, what do I say that's so controversial?
We could use a big deal. We haven't got shit.
Yeah, well,
Somebody make a big deal about
fuck
something.
Roman Reigns. I don't,
All
everybody
we've had
says
was
that.
Whoa! What?
All we've had
Here's
was
what we should do. Somebody on this podcast should defend Roman Reigns.
I don't know who that is.
See, that's the point.
He's the pro wrestler that the
He's-
WWF is. I refuse to call him WWE. They're trying to put him over as their
The
number
top
one
guy.
He's
star.
the next guy.
He's the guy.
But no one likes him.
Yeah, nobody.
Who was the last guy?
John Cena.
Okay, really? That was a while ago.
Well, I mean, he was on top for 10 years.
Randy Orton,
Nah, not even close.
Daniel Bryan. They didn't put him over.
They didn't put him over enough. And then he had the
then he had the thing.
He had the neck
brand
injury,
shit.
and then they forced retired him, which was a whole
Who-
other topic.
Who was the pro wrestler that went into the MMA?
Brock Lesnar?
Brock Lesnar. No, the different guy. There was somebody else.
John Cena.
Not John
No, he
Cena.
didn't do MMA.
I swear there was somebody
I
else.
was convinced he was. I have no idea why. Must be the jean shorts.
Oh no, I'm thinking of the MMA guy that he had the boxing match. That big.
Oh,
that-
Conor
that
McGregor.
big fight, and he got his ass kicked.
Yeah, what was it? Conor McGregor that got his ass kicked?
Yeah,
by-
Oh, yeah.
Floyd Mayweather kicked his ass.
Our producer was telling us that we're out of time.
But we didn't get into politics yet.
All right,
Well, we'll
Lawrence,
keep going.
full bore politics, whatever the hell is on your mind. This is called the politics moment. with Lawrence
God, I
Watson.
so wanted people to like me.
I have a feeling that most of the folks who know you are probably listening to this show,
No, my politics.
and they know you. And let's be honest here. Politics is something of a passion for you, but it's not
Sure.
exactly a definition of your character, though, which is why it's great. Some people, they only identify with their politics.
Well, I said to someone one time, if I could only be friends with people whose politics I shared, I would be a very, very lonely individual. Because
Exactly.
I live in Western Pennsylvania, and it's a very, it's a socially, I'm not going to deny the fact, it's a socially conservative kind of, it always has been.
Yeah.
A socially conservative part of the country, so, and I'm socially liberal, let's say.
Well, in the words of who was it? I think it was John McCain. Some people see Western Pennsylvania as a racist area, and I couldn't agree more.
Well,
That was a bad campaign.
Famous flubbed line.
well, let's put it in a historical perspective. Jack Murtha, whom everybody around here voted for continuously until he died, they caught him saying that Western Pennsylvania was racist and redneck, which are both accurate.
And I couldn't agree more.
I wouldn't say accurate. I would say
accurate in
somewhat
a sense.
accurate. Somewhat accurate. But
There are.
I'm not going to get into that because
It was just.
believe it or not, the people that I work with listen to this show. And
Oh, no.
they know my leanings, and they won't be surprised that I said this much to this point. So I'm going to just temper it a little bit. But, however...
But that is what John Murtha did say, though. He did say that, and that didn't cost him anything.
Okay, I'll give you an example. All right. So I student taught for 15 weeks in 2010. And this was in southwestern, Washington County, or southeastern Washington County.
Mm.
So the California area.
Yeah.
And their state representative at the time was Bill DeWeese. Now, he was in jail by the time I was student teaching. And the folks who had vested interest in Bill DeWeese getting elected that's all they cared about was Bill DeWeese getting elected, and he was in jail for being crooked, but because he served their interest. So it's kind of like people don't care as long as that it doesn't affect them personally in this area. There's no greater, well, for a lot of folks, I'm not going to speak for the entire place, but it seems like there's no greater morality involved. A guy's in jail for being crooked, and you're still trying to get him elected. So what does that tell you?
Well, the way they vote around here is, I've always described, well, not described, but I mean, you can observe that Western Pennsylvania voters have always been, may always be, machine voters. And then that's in both senses of the word, both Republican machine voters and Democrat machine voters. Especially Democrats, because I just have observed that party a little more because I'm a member of the party.
Right.
So it's a little easier for me to talk about it as an observer. The Democratic Party in Western Pennsylvania is a machine. Not too many machines exist anymore. But in Western Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, in the surrounding areas, it's a machine. Whoever the state or whoever the sectional party backs, that's who will win. Look no further than the 2016 Democratic primary. There was a lot, I would say, there was a lot of enthusiasm, I would say, for Bernie Sanders around here.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, it didn't matter because Hillary Clinton won Western Pennsylvania's primary.
That's where it's saying whoever is propped up.
Yeah, whoever the machine backs is who will win the votes, no matter what the enthusiasm tells you. And I can always tell who's going to win based on the campaign signs I see. It's so uniform. It's incredible. It was why, as a Democrat, I was deeply, deeply alarmed at how little Clinton signage, I would say, I saw just overall. I saw more Obama-Biden signs than I did Clinton signs.
Now, what areas were you traveling? Because that does make a difference.
Well, if anywhere outside of the city.
Okay.
In the city, I would see Clinton. You saw a lot of Clinton stuff. Clinton came.
On the north side, I saw a ton.
Yeah. North side, south side.
Shady side.
Squirrel Hill, Oakland, Oakland you saw a lot. But outside of the city was deeply, deeply alarming to me as a Democrat because I saw, it's like, wow, this is really going to be bad around here. Because the pattern of voting towards Republicans in Western Pennsylvania was not so pronounced. I mean, it was trending that way. But 16 was a pronounced loss. It was a real shellacking. If you looked at the 2004 result, well, let's even take it in 1996 is when things started trending. That is when, even though Bill Clinton was still popular, but it was when voters started to trend towards Republicans because a lot of voters around here are very predictable. They hate NAFTA, they hate free trade, and that was a big thing at that time. That was a really big issue for a campaign that had no real big issue.
Right, yeah.
You had things like that. You had, and that was the start of, and social conservatives kind of, Bill Clinton's kind of icky.
Yeah.
That was when the trend started. It continued into 2000 slightly, but very slightly. In 2004, a bit more. John Kerry still won most of Western Pennsylvania. In 2008, John McCain finally won most of Western Pennsylvania, but it was not a. And I know this is so boring for most people, but it wasn't a big swing. Political psephologists talk about swing. It wasn't a great swing from 4 to 8, and it wasn't really a great swing from 8 to 12 towards. I mean, it was some, but from 12 to 16, it was pronounced.
Right.
So that was what alarmed me when I would leave Pittsburgh, and when you're in Pittsburgh and you leave Pittsburgh and you go around, I saw, oh boy, Trump, Pence, Trump, Pence, Trump, Pence, and I know people who I've talked about on this forum that I mentioned, who never saw one Trump sign because, they may not live in that, they live in a very homogenized kind of area. They never, they didn't have any idea, and I even said I have a bad feeling. So for me, that was when my bad feeling started. When I noticed I saw more Gary Johnson signs than I did for Clinton and Kane.
Okay, that's a good.
That is a bad sign.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know what the midterms will hold.
Well, that's an important question, and the reason why it's kind of relevant here is because where we are sitting was part of the special election.
Yeah, it was.
Which was, for all intents and purposes, essentially meaningless, really. In
Boy,
terms of what people can actually do.
Did I love following that race though? That was a fun race to follow if you have no stake in it, which I didn't based on where I lived. But I just loved.
Okay, so
I loved the race. It was a lot of fun to watch.
So I know I got all kind of shit in the mail.
Without giving away too much of where I live, this used to be the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
That special election was for the old 18th, and the lines got redrawn, and now I am in the new 14th.
Yeah.
Well, apparently I'm in the 18th because I saw Connor Lamb signs everywhere.
You're in the 18th. Most of Washington County.
Now.
Oh, now?
Now.
Oh, now? I don't know. I didn't know there was
No.
more election.
You probably won't now because he's up by Beaver.
Right. So, as far as the new 14th goes, the way that line is drawn, what do you think that's going to mean for the next election with the new districts?
I think the new 14th is still going to. It's going to be a Republican seat. But I don't think...
but here's the thing. The guy who ran against Connor Lamb in the 18th was Rick Saccone. He lost the Republican primary.
He lost to Guy Reschenthaler.
Exactly.
Who is I think he would be the kind of candidate that a Republican would love to build from the ground up.
Now, which one of them let rapists out of jail? Because that's all I kept seeing on these things I got in the mail was somebody let a rapist out of jail.
I don't know. I didn't get any of those.
They both looked the same, but one was for one guy and one was for the other guy.
Well, that's an interesting point too. Is on the issues for that special election, there really wasn't a whole lot of difference between Lamb and Saccone, other than approach and maybe and economic union issues.
Right.
And here's a point.
And healthcare was the
big one.
Healthcare was the big one.
I wanted to bring up this point of this one. If for years, and even in the when Tim Murphy had the seat, unions would do the little wink and nudge with Tim Murphy because they didn't really they were they had kind of a symbiotic relationship. Even though he would vote on some of their interests every once in a while, and they said, "Okay,
you don't bother me, I don't bother you."
So they would allow they would encourage sometimes their membership to vote for him. But with Rick Saccone, this was a very, very anti-union candidate. Someone who bragged about being an anti-union candidate.
This is union country.
Yeah.
Even when unions are bad.
Yeah, this is still at heart, and this is why I'm going to say something here in a second it's going to tie this point together.
Okay.
If you can get the union on your side around it, trade unions in this country are kind of they're limp right now. They don't have a lot of political power if you compare them to, say, large private donors.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But they do still get out the vote when it matters to them around here. They can swing an election. So you want those you want the steel workers, you want the mine, you want those endorsements.
Right.
Connor Lamb was very aggressive in getting union endorsements, and they fucking showed up for him, and they got him over the line.
Right.
And if you look at that race, and you look at the recent primary for governor, lieutenant governor, the recent primaries, where John Fetterman,
Yeah. Mayor Braddock.
the mayor of Braddock, just absolutely clobbered most of his opponents. The incumbent lieutenant governor finished last. He was that bad. And
Well, lieutenant governor is such a low profile
it is.
job.
It really is. But the point that
Actually, I think it's ridiculous that it's even elected. It should just be like governor.
Is that one of those things that only old people vote for?
yeah. I mean, I voted, but
Old people and Lawrence
there was
vote for.
there was also a congressional primary too, and some other stuff. But the lieutenant governor primary was the one I was focused in on, mainly because I wanted to see how John Fetterman would do and what the margins would be, and I figured he would win because the state party wanted him to win, and that's the way.
And then there's the machine again. There's
Like I said, it goes back to the machine
argument.
I wanted to see what his margins would be, and his margins in like Washington County, Allegheny County, where he's from, Greene County, Westmoreland, all these places. Looking at his margins, I thought, well, goddamn, give me 10 John Fettermans, and I'll take Western Pennsylvania back.
Yeah.
Give me 5 of him, and I would make this area competitive again. I would stop the swing away from the Republicans and kind of ease it back. But give me 10 candidates like that, and
Okay, but here's the thing. That you kind of counteract your own argument. And here's why. Is because you suggest that John Fetterman was propped up by the machine.
to an extent, yes. But I'm not saying here. Statewide, absolutely.
Okay.
Statewide, keep in mind, Pennsylvania is like 3 different states. You've got the West, you've got the Middle, and you've got the
Alabama
East.
in between.
Well, you've got Pittsburgh on one end, that's Carville's, and Pittsburgh on one end, Philadelphia on the other, and Alabama in between. But it is really 3 states. John Fetterman was not known at all in the East, really.
Right.
Like at all. He didn't win a lot of areas in the East.
Well, who the hell's going to be the mayor of Braddock?
Well, exactly. That's the point.
Other than his appearance. Big fat guy, bald, long goatee.
He's fucking gigantic.
Tons of tattoos. Tattoos.
Tattoos. Ink.
He's a black guy, isn't he?
No, he's
not.
not.
I thought he was.
No.
No, he's a white guy.
He's a
Really?
white guy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
He's a sympathetic white guy, but still a white guy.
He's done with Braddock about as good as somebody can do.
Really, given the scheme of things, I would agree.
I would never expect a town like Braddock, and it pains me to say this because I love Western Pennsylvania as a whole.
Right.
I would never expect this town to come back completely. I would never expect any town outside the city to ever come back. I don't really expect the city to completely recover from, to where it was once.
Well, the city has.
In the sense of, yes, economically and all that, but, they're no longer, they no longer need bailed out by the state.
Right, however...
But the population is gone. I mean, at one point this was the 6th or 5th most populous city in America. So
okay, population is one
that
thing.
That is generally what I'm...
But it's just damn inconvenient to live there. Because getting around...
Oh, getting around is a nightmare.
I have city friends. I have everywhere else friends. City friends. Jesus Christ, they hardly ever leave.
Well,
It's okay, they're not listening.
Well, Well, I mean, just to navigate.
Anybody want to come down here to go to a bar that's a block from my house?
Well, anyway.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard stories of a guy who lives not as far from Los Angeles as I live from downtown Pittsburgh. And it takes him about an hour and a half.
Well, Los Angeles is notorious for traffic.
Well, let's just say it's not even downtown.
You're comparing
Let's say
apples and dicks.
Not downtown Los Angeles. In fact, he's far enough outside of downtown Los Angeles that it was someone at work and they had a different address. It wasn't Los Angeles, California. It was something else, California.
Culver City or something.
But it's still, even though he was less than 10 miles away. But it took him an hour and a half to get there. Now, on a really bad day, it'll take me an hour to get downtown, and I'm much farther away than 10 miles.
You are much farther away.
Yeah.
You have a good pipeline with not as much traffic. But traffic in Los Angeles is notorious. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Your point is
but anyway,
obvious.
Do the same thing in another big city.
we didn't hardly touch on some of the important goings on in politics in the area currently, namely the Antoine Rose shooting. And
we're going to do that.
I don't know. I
don't know a whole lot about that.
I don't really want to cover that, I think, but part of me says we should, but like I don't think any of us are well informed enough on it because I know a little bit.
All I'm going to say is it turns out the cop is potentially dishonest.
Oh, yeah.
Now the question is, as far as trial goes, because and here's the thing that I found interesting is that the DA did a lot of grandstanding in his first press conference,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of two things. And now let's clarify this point: by the election for DA is not until 2020, so
Yeah, it's a while off.
2 years out. Because my first reaction was, oh, it must be election year. So either A, he's grandstanding way too early, or B, he knows something the rest of us don't. Going as far as saying he knew exactly what he was doing. And I question that. Now, I will easily subscribe to the argument that he was incompetent, because cops are. Not cops, but the
Fucking pigs.
The possibility exists.
Yeah.
Barney Fife with his pistol drawn. But
Why are there so many ostriches?
Don Knotts said too many ostriches. But from what I've read,
Yeah.
his record as a University of Pittsburgh, college campus officer is
It wasn't good.
it's not good.
Yeah. If Doug were here, we'd say irrelevant.
Well, yeah, Doug would say irrelevant, and you know what? It probably is
Yeah,
irrelevant.
it probably is.
But here's the thing. So let's just say this case goes actually to trial. The cop doesn't.
Oh,
plead
it's
out.
almost certainly going
Let's
to trial.
go to trial
but
because
not
cops
with
don't plead out. Cops know
Yeah.
that the public is in general on their side, especially around here.
Well, it's almost certainly not going to be an Allegheny County jury, especially after those protests. There's no way.
No, move it to Franklin or Zelienople or someplace.
There's no way they'll move it out of the air because the jury pool would be contaminated now.
But here's the question.
Because
So-
there's nobody that doesn't have an opinion on it now, probably.
Right, and so they're going to try and make it as less urban as possible.
Yeah.
But here's the question. If the defense tries to paint, if the defense tries to paint the young man Antoine Rose
Oh, okay.
by saying he was no angel, or he was into this,
I'm sure
he
that-
was into that. So at that point, character becomes
Yeah.
an
that they will do
argument.
that.
At that point, do they make Roosevelt's character, the cop, do they make his character an argument? Does that open the door
I
for
think-
his record at Pitt admissible?
I
Because
think
it's not good.
Well, I think if it were me, and this is something where maybe we could use Doug's advice on it, but he would go on for quite a way on it. But
We don't have that kind of time.
yeah, we'd be here for 3 hours on not that it wouldn't be educational, but
Right.
if I were an attorney for Antoine Rose, whomever.
Well, the attorney for Antoine Rose is the state.
Yeah, if I was
this is the district attorney that's bringing these charges.
If I was a district attorney, I would bring character into it because why not?
Innocent until proven guilty, burden of proof is on the state. So, they cannot bring character of the defendant into the court as far as evidence goes, unless the defense.
Yeah, that's what
unless the defense brings it themselves.
That was what I was getting at was.
At least according to television shows that I've watched.
According to Law and Order. Oh yeah. According to Perry Mason.
But anyway, but yeah, if I was a prosecuting attorney and they brought character into it, I would use it. But anyway, yeah, that was the only point I was going to make. It was that if they did, I would.
Yeah, repeat that sentence just in case the person was no good.
Okay, well, if the defense did bring character into it, I would also, as a prosecutor, bring it.
Well, that's the thing. As soon as the defense brings it in, it opens the door.
Yeah, it's fair play, yeah.
Right. But the question is, if you're the defense, do you bring it in?
If I was... No, I wouldn't.
So all you have is he was in the car.
I would say is that...
he was in the car and he ran away.
He ran and the officer could
And he may or may not have grabbed the thing. The officer's story has changed 3 times.
Yeah, so...
And so that's automatically unreliable because, well, which one was it? Were you lying then? Were you lying then? Were you lying then or were you lying now?
It's probably a little late for this, but what are the basic facts? What do we know?
Basic facts of what we know. Okay.
It was a drive-by shooting.
There was a drive-by shooting. Okay, we'll even go before that.
Okay.
Antoine Rose and his buddy get a jitney cab.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Uber before there was Uber.
Yeah, it's
less sophisticated.
A hood Uber.
Jitney cab picks them up. Antoine Rose is in the front seat. His buddy's in the back. Car drives along. Antoine Rose's buddy says to Antoine, "Is that him?" Antoine says, "Yeah." His buddy rolls down the window, fires at some guys. A couple of guys fire back. Police get a call. Shooting in North Braddock.
Yeah, it was North Braddock.
Car goes to East Pittsburgh. All available units around the area that aren't part of the North Braddock police are notified about a gold Chevy Impala or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So they see the gold Chevy Impala. He pulls it over. Instructs the driver to get out. Doesn't wait for backup.
Yeah, that's another thing too. He didn't wait for backup.
Didn't wait for backup, which is
that's against procedure.
Against procedure.
It's not protocol.
The other 2 get out and run away. According to some accounts, show their hands.
Yeah, I've heard the show the hands.
Officer fires 3 shots in the back of a kid that's running away. Kid dies. Other one gets away. And those are the facts.
Okay.
All right.
I just thought that should have been brought up at the beginning.
Oh, well.
Because you were discussing this whole thing without
Well, if you read
very
the
little context.
fucking paper once in a
Well,
while.
what about the listeners, John?
Oh, the listeners.
Well,
Yeah.
I assume they read the fucking paper too.
well, those that are local will know, and those that aren't will have to. I'm sure even those that aren't have heard about it, but my surprise, Donald Trump did not take up this particular cross.
He runs away from the cops, you fucking shoot him, and that's what you do. No, that's not. We don't kill people for that.
Get him out of here!
Of a drive-by shooting.
So it turns out the car was involved in a drive-by. The driver was let off. They determined he did not commit a crime because, he might be put in an impossible situation. You don't know. Antoine Rose is fucking dead. So really, what are you going to do? Possibly charge him with a crime? And the other kid, I think they finally picked him up.
They did pick him up. They did find him.
Okay, they find him.
Yeah, I heard that. I'm not even sure that even Antoine Rose would have been involved in the crime.
Well, there is a question as to whether or not. However, I don't know what.
Did they say that? I mean, I know that there was a real ruckus about whether or not they had video of him actually shooting, which they didn't.
Which they didn't.
Yeah, they had to. What a great fucking what great news organizations we have around in this city. WTAE never ran the story because they didn't trust the source.
Okay, that's good.
WPXI ran it.
They run with everything.
Yeah. KDKA ran it. And about an hour later or so, it came out from I think it was the district attorney. No, this was not the case.
No, it came out from the Allegheny County
Okay,
Police.
it was the police.
Yeah.
It came out that this was not this isn't true. WPXI pulled it, from what I gather. KDKA left it on for another hour and ran with it.
It doesn't matter if you're right, it just matters if you're first.
Yeah.
That's all news everywhere at this point. Because there's no value in restraint when it comes to news.
I think and even on the national scale too, like if you look at say Fox, that is not really a news channel.
Well, none of the cable news channels are.
Yeah, but that was the point I was
None of the cable
going to
news
make.
channels are. It's all
Fox is Republican.
Entertainment.
It's Republican propaganda.
Well, no, I'm not going to get
MSNBC is closer to Democratic propaganda.
I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. But what I'm going to say is, it's pretty much they blur the lines between news and commentary, and it serves as entertainment. And
Well,
so
it is
anytime they're caught up
commentary.
in some factual errors or some conjecture, for that matter, they
Donald
say,
Trump
"Well, we're
an asshole."
the defense is always, well, we're an entertainment show. We only air news from 5 to 6, and we air commentary and entertainment from 6 to 5 the next day." So if you're listening, don't get your news from 24-hour news because it's not really news. It's kind of like news.
If you want your commentary, by all means.
As long as you recognize that it's entertainment, then at least recognize
I know
that it's entertainment.
I know a lot of people that get their news exclusively from Fox. That is a dangerous mindset to have.
Fox, don't even say Fox. 24-hour
It
news
is, but
is
it
bad.
is. I'm saying Fox because they were the first to do it.
They were
the first to the party.
But at this point in time, everybody else has followed suit.
True.
Now, when it comes to journalism,
But to be fair, I don't really know anybody that gets their news exclusively from MSNBC.
well,
So-
that's a good point. But the dangerous portion is when you get your news from a place that blurs that line between news and commentary. So news
like
with a s-
InfoWars.
No, info. You know how InfoWars operates? They just report.
I just wanted to bring InfoWars into the discussion because it's an entertaining topic.
Well, you know that phrase from the State Farm commercial. It's on the internet. It has to be true.
Well, they think the cop that shot the
Where'd you hear that? The
kid was
internet.
actually the grandson of Jack Ruby.
That's how InfoWars works.
I think Alex Jones missed his true calling. I really do.
Professional wrestling.
Should have been if he didn't want to. I mean, if he wasn't the right size to be a wrestler, he sure as shit could have been a manager.
I'm the
Okay.
conspirator.
I mean,
Alex Jones could be a great professional wrestler manager. All right, my wrestler, he's been given an unfair, by Vince McMahon and all the powers of being the WWE, and everybody knows that in a crowded room, Vince McMahon said that Daniel Bryan would never ever be WWE World Heavyweight Champion, even though he totally deserves it.
he did say that about Rey Mysterio. He'll never be my champion.
Mysterio is fucking awesome.
It was actually LBJ's lawyer
was
that said that Vince McMahon's father was friends with Jack Ruby.
But that brings that up too. Is a funny thing is after Eddie Guerrero died, there was a lot of sympathy toward Rey Mysterio. They were buddies and they were associated with each other, and when a guy dies and if you're that closely associated, it kind of transfers over to you.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay,
So-
I would point out that even before Eddie Guerrero died, and I only watched professional wrestling for maybe 9 months of my youth,
Okay.
and I loved watching Rey Mysterio Jr.
Oh, he's
Juventud Guerrera and Rey Mysterio Jr. were the best fucking matches I ever saw because it was just so Mexican acrobatic.
You would love Lucha Libre.
I'm sure I would.
If you ever catch it on one of the Spanish channels, you'd love it, man.
Because that was the style. Just flips and turns and flips and turns and Jesus Christ, this is totally fake, but I fucking love it.
That's entertainment.
Yeah.
I was entertained. You would be too.
So after Eddie died, and there was a groundswell of support for Ray to get the belt. Vince McMahon had it in his head when he looked at Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio was not big. Even on steroids, he was never really that big. And he did. I mean, there's no question in my mind because his physiology changed dramatically from his younger days when he went to WWE. But even on the Jews, even though his physiology had changed, he'd put on muscle mass. Vince McMahon said to one of the writers when they pitched him Ray as world champion, "He will never be my world champion." He ended up being his world champion for a while, but never booked as like a top, really never booked like a real world champion. Yeah. They were going to give the same treatment to Bryan.
Right.
That's exactly what they were going to do.
It's actually Jack Ruby that went ahead behind Vince McMahon's back and propped Rey Mysterio up as the world champion.
Okay, Jesse.
Talk about impressions.
That was Alex Jones.
Oh, well, it's the same thing.
All right, do your Jesse Ventura.
You can't put me on the spot. I told you.
Were they trying to?
Now listen here, McMahon.
It's a whole different thing.
All right, the conspiracy of Big Globe.
The Big Globe.
Heart controls the weather, McMahon.
Special machines were constructed to turn cardboard into spheres.
It's a conspiracy from Big Globe.
Actually,
Which I wish you could take forever. That was a WDVE joke.
Big
I remember,
Globe, that's just an everywhere joke. That's not a...
Oh, good. Then I can
That's
just use
everybody's joke. You can use it if you want.
All right, great.
I remember, what was it was an Alex Jones remix video, which I love watching those. They had him snorting and breathing heavy. I just thought, man, I swear to God, he and the Ultimate Warrior would have gotten along great. They would have. I mean, they could have hated gay people together and, whatever else. Queers don't make the world work, man. Okay.
All right, fine.
Whatever.
It's actually the Ultimate Warrior that peed in the pond that turned the frogs gay.
There were 2 Ultimate Warriors. Nobody talks about this, but it's true.
We thought that when we were kids.
Remember that? That's the rumor.
We thought the Ultimate Warrior had died of a heart attack in the ring, and then they just got another Ultimate Warrior, and then he was the fake Ultimate Warrior. And then it turns out the Ultimate Warrior would just later die of a heart attack later.
Yeah, would you like to hear?
The one that I remember was that the Undertaker died in a boxing match when someone. This is the 4th grade rumor, was that someone choked him so hard a piece of his throat flew out and he died.
This was something that was told to you by one classmate, and you believed it for a while.
Of course. Why would he lie?
Because he's a kid, and kids lie all the time.
He just didn't have his facts straight. Someone lied to him.
So the
Undertaker has always been some guy named Mark.
Yeah, Mark Calloway. Appropriately, his name was Mark.
And he still wrestles, doesn't he?
Every once in a while, they'll trot him out. The old Ultimate Warrior rumor, I wanted to talk about this, was in 92, they had, 91 into 92, they had the big problems with steroids. It was, the steroid drama.
Well, it came out.
Yeah. So everybody had to get off the juice because they were starting to test people.
And Ultimate Warrior was all juice.
Oh, yeah. So Vince had him get off the juice before he came back at WrestleMania. He was supposed to do a run-in at WrestleMania 8, and we hadn't seen him in a while. So the theory was, when he came out, he was smaller. So when he came out to save Hulk Hogan from the beatdown of Psycho Sid and Papa Shango, the Voodoo Man, who later became the Godfather with the hose.
Okay.
To save them from the beatdown at WrestleMania, a considerably smaller Ultimate Warrior who looked in build, he looked like him in build anyway. He looked a lot like Kerry Von Erich,
Okay.
who was also a wrestler, and he was but he wasn't even really with the company at that time. I don't think anymore. And they said, "Oh, well, this is not that's not the Ultimate Warrior. That's a Texas Tornado. That's Kerry Von Erich. That's Kerry Von Erich." And it wasn't Kerry Von Erich. It was always Jim Hellwig. Kerry Von Erich died in 1993, years before Jim Hellwig did. And it was just always Jim Hellwig. He just wasn't on the juice anymore, and people didn't realize that a lot of people. That's why after a certain time, Randy Savage started wearing shirts and long tights. He wasn't on the juice anymore. He didn't look quite as good.
Let me ask you this: so the WWF back in the early '90s, they were cracking down on steroids.
Yeah, very heavily.
Now, if at that time they had switched to World Wrestling Entertainment.
That was late 90s. That was
I know,
late.
right.
Yeah.
But if they had done it back then, would they have had to crack down on steroid use? Was that a sports thing, or was it illegal?
That's a legal thing.
A legal thing.
A legal thing.
Okay.
And a public
Different
opinion
ballgame.
thing.
Yeah, well,
As well.
they had already stopped even in pretending that this was a sport way before that.
Well, then why did they go after the wrestlers before they went after the baseball players?
Because,
More obvious?
yeah, plus the wrestling was an easy target in the early 90s because they weren't, the money was no longer there. They weren't, wrestling is seedy. There's no way baseball could ever be as seedy as professional wrestling. It's built on a lie. Wrestling is built on a lie.
That's true.
So, and baseball, no matter how dirty it got or, whatever,
You're still playing the game.
you're still playing the game. You're not lying to people saying, well, we're pretending to hit a home run,
Well, except 1919.
Yeah,
so-
well, that's...
Well, they were on amphetamines back then.
No, in them days, the advantage they had was not letting black people play.
yeah, true.
And the amphetamines. And that's not a joke. They were on...
Or beer and hot dogs.
Oh.
Like
Yeah,
Babe
that's
Ruth.
true.
And not letting black people play.
I
It
had
was
a-
an advantage!
It was. I'm not denying that at all. I just had a point and I
Look up
forgot.
Josh Gibson. That was
Oh,
like
yeah, well, Josh
Satchel
Gibson
Paige, man. He was a rookie when he was in the 40s.
Well, one of the great Pittsburgh sports people of all time was Josh Gibson.
And Satchel Paige
Satchel
as well. I
Paige.
played with Pittsburgh Crawford.
Yes, he did.
Negro,
But Josh Gibson was
Negro
born
League.
here.
The Negro League.
But Josh Gibson was born here. It was a little different.
That is a little different, yeah.
I'm sorry. The Negro League.
So, anyway, the reason why they didn't do it before was because, as obvious as it was in the 80s, it was just such a popular industry that nobody really gave a damn. And, they were making a lot more money. In the early 90s, when Hulk Hogan decided he wanted to go be a movie star, in movies in such gems as Suburban Commando, which set Christopher Lloyd's career back about 10 years.
Thank you. You saved our bar from being robbed, and I just cost $45,000 in damages.
That was Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
What was what was the movie where he's the babysitter?
The Nanny.
Mr. Nanny.
Mr.
Mr. Nanny.
Mr.
Was it
Nanny.
Mr. Nanny? No, The Nanny was a television show with French.
Yeah, Mr. Nanny. That was the worst of the lot, actually. I think it was Mr. Nanny.
See, I only ever saw the end of that movie where he rides away on his motorcycle, but the kids, they love him so much that they tied like a rope around
Yeah.
it. But the thing is, they tied the rope around the tire, so the motorcycle shouldn't have gotten anywhere. But he does get like 20 feet away before he stops. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
It's one of those comeback.
At least in
shame
my memory,
moments.
maybe it was different. I don't know.
What a cast too that they used in that movie. Sherman Hemsley.
Oh God.
Sherman Hemsley was in that movie?
Yeah, he was his manager. Actually, there was one line in that movie I did like that I actually laughed at. Was when Hulk is having an argument with Sherman Hemsley on the phone, and they're trying to repossess Sherman's phone because he hasn't paid his bills because he's lousy when it comes to money. So they're like the guy is fighting with him for the phone as he's yelling at Hulk Hogan, and Sherman says to him, he says, "All right, fine, do me one last favor then. Come by my house and turn off the gas to my oven." And I was, "Why can't you do it?" "Because my head's going to be in it."
That's a good line.
That was the one line in that movie that
That's
I
a good
legitimately
line.
laughed at, and I still find funny. It was the one good line in that movie. So I'll give it that. But other than that, it was pretty terrible. But
You know, I had
Speaking
another
of pretty
thought.
terrible,
Oh, I had another thought about the steroid use in
Okay.
professional wrestling because it seems entirely cosmetic. Because obviously
It
it
was
takes
cosmetic,
a
yeah.
really big beefed up guy to pick up another big beefed up guy. But if neither of them are super beefed up with steroids, then it shouldn't be that hard. It should be the same.
Really, it's once you know what you're doing, the easiest thing in the world to do is pick a guy up, because all that guy does is jump for you, and
Right.
momentum allows you to take them over.
But if he's a
And
really, really big beefed up guy and you're not, then it's going to be hard. But if neither of you are super beefed
Yeah.
up, you're just regular beefed up.
so you just kind of it wasn't kind
If you're beefed up instead of juiced up,
Yeah.
is what I mean.
Okay, well, like Ultimate Warrior, for example,
Yeah.
what was he known for?
He had that gorilla press slam that everybody hated. They hated taking it.
And he also picked people up by the nuts.
Well, yeah, that's what the honky tonk man
The
said.
honky-tonk man.
Pick me up by my nuts. I said, you're grabbing my nuts.
Bobby Heenan also hated taking. He hated the Ultimate Warrior, and if you make Bobby Heenan hate you, I mean, there was something wrong with you.
Well, let's just put it this way.
Yeah.
They made Ultimate Warrior Intercontinental Champion
Yeah, they
before he actually knew how to wrestle.
Intercontinental champion.
They made him Intercontinental Champion. They made him World Champion.
He
The greatest Intercontinental champion of all time.
No, he unseated the greatest Intercontinental
Oh,
Champion
shit.
of all time, the Honky Tonk.
In a very unfair manner, I might add. Honky Tonk was prepared for Brutus Beefcake, and they lied to him. So, technically, Honky Tonk Man, in this match was unsanctioned. Technically, Honky Tonk Man should still be the champion.
And every Intercontinental Championship after that is illegitimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And that's
Well,
what he said.
You should say, free the Honky Tonk Man.
So he's still the Intercontinental
He's-
champion.
he's
Give
still
him
there.
all the belts.
And right now, this is our third episode, and
Yes.
2 out of 3 we are talking about the Honky Tonk Man.
Well, I mean, it's just...
Well, why not?
Why
What's the
not?
problem?
He's an entertaining topic. He's an
God.
entertaining guy, really.
Oh,
he really
yeah.
is.
Oh, he was
Oh,
hilarious.
hell yeah.
But,
Was it time when the actual like stand-ups are worse than the guy who just
Who's not a stand-up?
who was
pro
well,
wrestled?
They're not as funny as the guy who's not.
stories.
They're not as funny as the guy who doesn't call himself a comedian.
yeah. Well, I mean, going back to that real quick. I know we covered this ad nauseum, but I mean, when a comedian is just starting out, which neither of these guys were, I think the first guy was.
First guy totally was.
The second guy knew what he was doing. He just shat all over.
He decided this is going to be my thing,
Yeah.
and it was just bad.
Yeah, Matt Light. He just shat all over the stage. He took a big
He
dump.
was bad.
Yeah. To be fair to both those guys in a certain manner, the Honky Tonk Man did play a comedy character, and he has played him for like 30 years.
That's true.
So, I mean, he's kind of got that experience going for him, but still,
And when you have some good stories to lean on.
He's a
Yeah.
guy with stories.
he is a great storyteller.
But you have to be able to tell the story too,
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can tell the story.
I'm going to put it this way. I was about to suggest that I tell the most interesting story that I had happened to me in the last 6 months, and we decided that it's just that bad. I don't have the stories that he has.
To be fair, John, a lot of your stories are bad.
Oh, they are bad. Once
So-
in a
but
while,
there
I have
are
a
some good
story.
ones. There are
I
some
had
good ones.
my best story so far, at least for entertainment person, was Jimmy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But we already talked about Jimmy. So
yeah, we've.
Oh, I listened to Jimmy's album.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's right. We gave.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. I forgot. I gave the CD of Jimmy over to Jeff. Jeff, your review of Jimmy 3.
Yeah, real quick, because after that we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
I don't really have much of a review because I had it on kind of quiet in the car.
Mm.
Yeah, my wife was in the car, so I didn't really. She was yapping, and I just kind of turned it down.
She was yapping.
So I
She'll
wasn't really
listen, it's
listening.
okay.
I wasn't really listening to anything.
Yeah, I know. But
This is my
still,
point.
just
But
my wife was yapping.
So what you're saying is it wasn't so bad that you didn't have to throw it out even when your wife was yapping.
no, I mean it wasn't bad. It was just not the kind of thing that you say like, "Oh, I'm going to put that in my rotation." I'm going
Oh God, no.
to.
No, definitely not. And I like Jimmy. I really did.
And I want to know where do you go to get this service? You know, where they play. Like,
That's a good question.
I mean, they're not the real. It's not the real background music of the songs. It's just kind of like
Generic.
music, but it's still the tune
Right.
that he sings along.
MIDI
with. So
track.
he does like New York, New York, and
He had, like, MIDI
some of
tracks.
these
All right,
other
here's what we do.
songs.
Here's our plan. This will give us a story for the next podcast.
Yeah.
We go back to level 20. We find Jimmy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
I don't know if
Now,
we-
I'll spend the rest of the night feeding him compliments like I did the first time, even though the first time they were genuine. This time I was trying to prod him for information.
Well, to be fair,
where'd
I
you
mean,
get that?
even if he showed up again, I'm
and
sure.
he says he doesn't do this for everybody. He hands me Jimmy 4, the anxiously awaited Jimmy 4, because we only had Jimmy 3. Maybe
That
there's
was
1 and
Jimmy
2
3.
lying around too.
No, you gave it to me in just like a regular slimline case. What happened to the original case?
The insert was missing?
Yes.
Oh shit! It's somewhere in my car.
Oh no.
Oh,
You need
no.
that.
Oh,
damn.
no.
Fuck.
Okay.
You lost the album cover. It could have
It's
liner
as,
notes.
it's as bad as
Go
my.
out there and go look. I don't know.
It's as bad as my mom having the Beatles butcher cover stolen.
Oh,
Yes.
That's a
It's equally as bad as that.
that is an episode by itself. We'll
Yeah.
save it for the listeners.
We'll save that for another
Why the
time.
hell did we think of that?
Ooh, good idea.
Yeah.
Teasing the next episode.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that.
Coming
and-
soon on
and
the
coming
Lawrence
soon.
Watson Show.
We'll talk about my mom's and our love for the Beatles, and our
That's a
loss.
good idea. Why
yeah.
did we talk about that?
Well, I don't know. I wanted to do the Stooges. I can't help it.
Okay, we did 40 minutes in the
Yeah, we
Stooges.
did do.
Cut down to
What are,
5.
What other universally loved things can we talk about?
Dogs?
I don't like dogs.
Don't tell the dogs.
But anyway, so yeah, that'll be a great next episode. We can talk about all about the Beatles and other kinds of generic pop music we like,
Yeah.
or rock music, however you want to look at them.
I think it's safe to say that we
Yeah.
got
We got it.
banter. I think the show's mostly banter at this point.
Yeah, but you know what most podcasts are. I mean,
Okay, good. Then we're
Yeah.
on par.
I thought that was the whole show.
well, we kind of came in with a little bit of an idea. And some podcasts are really professional and they really keep it going. You know, keep it straight. We like to hang loose around here. We like to let our balls hang out. So
Yeah.
Okay, one thing that we've proved to ourselves is that we're good at talking.
that's true. We're very good. Well, I mean, if we didn't know
can't
that by
guarantee
now,
that it's interesting though.
well, I think this episode has been interesting. I think we've gotten some good stuff. Of course, I think every episode we do is interesting because that's how I am. I like to.
Because it's our interest.
Now be good at editing and get rid of like half of it.
Well, to be fair, there is a lot I'm going to have to get rid of because this is now over 2 hours, but
We had at least 1 hour of dogs barking though, so
yeah. So I mean, I'm not going to,
An hour of dogs. I think I'd listen to that.
I think I have to
Garbage.
listen to that.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll put the microphones on. I'll knock on the door, and then we'll hear nothing but dogs barking for an hour.
Oh my god.
Ding
Okay.
ding ding ding
Just
ding.
keep knocking on the
Ding 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 ding.
We can knock in our favorite tunes.
Then we have 500 listeners, and then it was the highest rated
Yeah.
episode.
It'll be like that.
Because dogs barking is a lot more interesting than us talking.
It'll be like that ASMR thing that Laura keeps telling me about. I don't understand it.
Oh, I've heard all about that.
Yeah, she tells me it works for her. It doesn't work for me. I don't understand it. But anyway,
I can
We'll save
understand.
it for another episode.
yeah. Well, that's
Because I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
you'll have to look it up on that weird part of YouTube.
Some people just listen to people chewing.
Yeah.
That would drive me crazy.
Well, they brought it up on Brockmire, which I know
We'll
I know you're a
we'll
fan
talk
of.
Brockmire next episode.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Everybody's
Yeah.
drinking a beer.
That's another one I've seen the
You know
whole
what that
series of, so.
means? We're drinking a beer. Everybody drink a beer.
And on that note of beer drinking and whatnot, I think we've gone on long enough. So for those of you that have stuck with us through all this,
God bless you.
I apologize.
What's wrong
and
with you?
you must have a lot of time on your hands. Anyway, we'll see you for episode 4 in hopefully not 2 months like this past time. But
We're not going to have as many mishaps this time around.
no, I
We're
don't
gonna do
think
it
so.
tomorrow.
For example, we
Do it
fired.
tomorrow.
Okay, for example, we fired Doug.
Yeah.
So no more entire episodes we have to dump that weren't related to technical
I mean,
difficulties.
there are certain times during the recording of this episode that maybe we're gonna have to dump this whole episode and do it again.
Well,
I'm kidding. I kid people. Those of you who have listened to us through all this, please like the video on YouTube, comment, subscribe, do whatever. Fucking follow me on Twitter at Lawrence J. Watson. Send me stuff there. Or not. I don't care. You can follow us on our Facebook group that we post these shows on and whatnot. And you can also, if you are of a mind, support us on Patreon for as little as $2 an episode. And usually that comes about $2 every couple of months.
Yeah.
So,
well, at this point, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, hey,
We're gonna have more content soon.
yeah, true, and then it's going to get really expensive
We had a
for your
series
ass,
of
John.
mishaps.
It's just going to get really expensive for you, John. I'm sorry.
It's already overpriced.
Yeah, well,
We could do
Okay.
one every day. It would be overpriced.
Hey, you know what? Let's
True.
go out on a limb here. If you're in the area,
Yeah.
and you want to be on the damn show,
let us know.
let us know because
We'll let you be a
we've
guest.
got nothing else.
Yeah, we'll have all kinds of stuff for you to talk about.
Oh, it's only the third episode. We're running on fumes.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I mean, 2 hours, and anyway.
Yeah, good point.
Those
Yeah,
of
but
you
only
who like the
35
show,
minutes is usable.
well, I don't know about if it's that low, but anyway, comment, like, subscribe, do all that crap. And if you're of mine, support us on Patreon. There will be a link on the YouTube page where I post these shows. Okay, so we're gonna do the outro now. For Jeff, for John, I'm Lawrence. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.